So I wanted to share on that because again, like it's hard for us women to like set those boundaries because, and I share this a lot because I always think that I need to take everything on. And then also my ego and pride get in the way because if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. And so that's one thing that I had to let go of was just delegating responsibilities and letting go of, okay, so what if the pots and pans don't get put exactly in the place that I want them to be in? The shit's getting done. And um, so like certain things I just had to learn to let go of in order to take care of myself, in order to allow myself that time to meal prep, to go to the gym, to, have my morning routine, my evening routine, because let's face it, we're working moms, right? It's not like we used to stay home and the man went and took care of us. And so for some of us, we don't even have a man to take care of us. So we got to take care of ourselves, right? So, and the other thing that I wanted to share is, my husband and I, we've had to, have some really hard conversations with each other because again, I had to set those boundaries. And if that person matters to you, if you matter to them and they matter to you, then you're going to have those hard conversations. And again, like sometimes it's about changing those relationships, like those people that are not on the same path with you, that don't support you and what you're doing and they're not your biggest cheerleaders, then fuck them. What are they doing your friends anyways? Because I mean, would you shine the light on them or shut the door on them if they were doing something to better themselves? I mean, you have to think of it in a different perspective. And so that's like one thing, like that was like a huge epiphany that I learned was, allowing myself to set those boundaries and then, making those shifts. Like if they truly matter and if I matter to them, then they're going to support me. And my husband has supported me. He's like come along with me and walked with me every step of the way. And that's not always the case.
Very true. And to, layer onto that, guys, like, and I want to hear from you, like, there's also the other side of it, as well as like sometimes the delegation and the fear doesn't always even come from it not getting done right. There's another layer to it. There's what if somebody does it better? Because we want to be the best at what we do. We are the fixers. We are the ones that give. And there is, if we're super honest with ourselves, sometimes the fear of letting go is holy fuck. What if somebody does it better than me? And here's the reality. One of the best things that one of my mentors said to me, and I took it to heart, like, and it made me, it kind of changed, shifted my perspective when it came to letting things go, because she was like talking to me about like letting things go at work, and I'm like, and she knew this, like she's like, we were having the conversation about the fear of somebody doing it better, and she says, here's the reality, Jules, everybody's replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. Everybody here in this call is like, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job, like everybody is replaceable. And once that sunk in, I was like, oh, right. So it doesn't like, and I don't say that for any other reason. Like that hit home for me because it was a reality. She's like, even I am. She's, the general manager of the company. She goes, I'm replaceable. We all are. And so we do what we can do and learn to let go because, and the other piece of that is as a leader, when she said that, I realized like I used to hire, like I managed a huge, which so many of you probably do. I managed a huge team of like 400 part-time educators, and I had 30 full-times under me. Like I had a huge team. And I remember when I built that team, I was building it and I almost forgot about it with people that were better than me because I needed people on that team that knew things that I did not do to create the strength that I needed to move that division forward. I needed people on my team that were better than me at certain things. So I don't know. I just throw that nugget out there too, because I do know that sometimes we have this fear of letting go because holy shit, what if somebody picks up the goddamn ball and runs faster than I am with that damn ball? Right, Megan? Here comes Lieutenant. Are
I
you
was
trying?
trying to get off mute. Sorry. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, I said yes, Megan. I could see you trying to come off of mute.
No, good. I'm just like, I'm so happy to like be back in a good space. Like I offloaded my projects last week, and guys, can I tell you, like Saturday, I felt like, like back in the day when you were like, man, I wish I was a kid again, so I don't have responsibilities. Like that's how Saturday felt for me. And I woke up Sunday and felt refreshed. I literally, I know this may sound exaggerated, but it's not. Like Sunday, woke up, walked outside, and I said, "Oh my God, this is what it feels like to walk outside and feel the sun after months." And then Monday, Tuesday came. I'm working out at the gym. I'm happy. I'm feeling good. I'm eating. And yeah, I actually have like mental space for myself. So it feels really good. But yeah.
Good. Proud of you for that, girl. And Megan, if she's been with me for us for a while, so she was in the other tribe and she was going through a hard time, and that's something that we were working on. She was the one, she's holding on to everything for dear life. And so I'm very happy to hear that you offloaded some of your shit. That's like, I'm literally high five, girl, because I know that was hard for you. I was super proud of you. And now, like,
Yeah.
breathe a little. And it's hard to do that. It's really hard.
Well,
Good.
it's the end of the it's the end of the season. I'm not giving myself too much credit. It's offloaded because it's no longer mine, but
You could own that a
like
little bit.
yeah, exactly. But thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. All right. Anybody else want to share on this topic? Who's a busy woman that is like Steph started us off. So she was talking about for those of you guys that are just joining now, yesterday she responded back to a check-in that I'd given her and she had an aha moment and she was like, wow, she's like, I need to step into my space and own it a little bit more and learn to say like, or ask the question, I don't, is it okay, do you mind if I eat something different than you? Do you mind if I don't have a drink? Versus that feeling of, if you say no to participating in something, or if you like, you might make other people feel uncomfortable. And the reality is, you really don't want to do the thing because you really want to stick with your health, or you're trying to make a change. And I'm not saying that, we don't always take part in some things, but like doing it when you really don't want to because you're trying to make somebody else feel comfortable. So that's what started out this whole conversation. And a lot of times it comes from, like I said, us being females and just wanting to be the fixers, never wanting to make other people feel uncomfortable. Because even, most of you are moms, but even if you're not a mom, like we still have that caretaker in us as a female. So learning, as Jen was talking about, to put those boundaries up, and it can feel super uncomfortable, guys. It can. Um, and before, like, I lead into it, because you guys are really good at leading me into the topics that I really wanted to talk about anyway. You guys are just like really well at that, really, really good at that. So does anybody want to add on to that before I go in? Does anybody relate? Barb, does this feel like comfortable or feel familiar to you? I know you're crazy schedule too.
Yeah, I messaged you about my nephew. He's just starting to cook and he was so excited about that marinade.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's an ant in me and then there's this new me. And I knew that brown sugar was the first ingredient. So I know that was the most of that product.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there. He goes, see if you can have it. And he's so pumped because he wants to cook that for me. And I'm like, well, I can only have, I want a lean steak. He goes, oh God, I got ribeyes. And I'm like, so here I go. How can we make this work?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, Garrett, we're just gonna have to wait.
And it's not
Hmm.
necessarily, I'm going to reframe something. It's not about can't. Like you can do anything. So guys, don't ever use the word like you can't, but like, is there a better choice, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like you messaged me and I even said it's not terrible. I said, but look at, when the first ingredient's brown sugar, probably the whole goddamn thing is sugar. You know what I mean, guys? Sometimes, and here's another lesson in here. Like if you looked at the macros of it, I would have literally said to her, fine, go ahead. But
Yeah.
I looked down to the ingredients and I'm like, girl, did you see the first ingredient is sugar? And we all know like the first ingredient of anything means that's predominantly what the bottle is. And I'm like, I mean, you can, it's not horrible. I'm like, but I, to layer on to that, like I would say, you know, and that you're leading me into this conversation too, like that I wanted to talk about. Like we like to say I don'ts and I can'ts, and it's not about I can or I don't. It's really about your choices. And if you're choosing to streamline your nutrition, if you're choosing to make changes, and create new habits, like these are choices you're making. So I would say to you guys, like when people like want to do things like this, I would love to, but let's make a different choice. Or just like utilizing it as an opportunity to also educate. And again, like I said, there wasn't really nothing that terrible about it. I just wanted you to like forefront, which you already saw, and I was like, well, it basically is a bottle of sugar. But yeah, the macros aren't horrible because of the serving size. And that's the other thing too, guys. Like I'm gonna like lead this into a different conversation. When you are reading nutrition labels, think about this. Like this was like for Barb, like I kind of like gave her a little like this is how you want to look at it. Like if you look at this at first glance, the macros and nutrients, they didn't look horrible, but then you read the serving size, which is like this, right? And the odds of this much being put on, and then you look at the ingredients. Like I'll use a for example. Guys, how many of you have actually, okay, how many of you, let's start here. How many of you, I'm pivoting. How many of you have ever used spray oil versus oil? Put your hand to the camera if you use spray oil. Great. How many of you actually read the serving size of that 0-calorie spray oil? Oh, Shannon's read it. Okay, Shannon, what's the serving size? I want to hear.
It's like barely a poop spray.
It's how many seconds?
I would say no more than 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely not 3.
Yep. Literally, guys, I want you all to solemnly swear to go and check your spray. Your spray oil is less than it's like, shoo, that's it. And how many of you, by a show of hands, to be honest, take the pan and go, right. Is it bad? No, it's not. It's sure as hell better than going chunk, 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 chunk with all this oil. But my point here is, and it was the same thing like I was talking with Barb, like look, sometimes you got to look at the serving size of these things that claim to be, fat, low sugar, whatever the hell it is, just like looking at them, the serving size, because sometimes you'll look at the macronutrients of something and you'll go, oh my God, that's like not bad at all. Like, and then if you look at the serving size, you're like, okay. And then you like dial down to the ingredients and you're like, well, that's interesting. I can't even pronounce that shit. I don't even like literally, how do I say that? Like I'm not gonna lie. I will sometimes put things in my mouth that I cannot pronounce all the ingredients, but I try for the most part to be, the ingredients of what I'm consuming to be things that I can read and understand. And I like to have the fewer the ingredients, the better. Like when I look for peanut butter, I look for like peanuts, period. Like literally almonds, done. That's all that's in there. You can find almond butter that's just truly almonds. That's it. Nothing else.
Can I tell you guys that I don't know if you can hear me. I'm now connected to my car. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this past weekend, I took my in-laws to the zoo, and my husband wanted to take them out for lunch. So he went to Velvet Taco. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I had my food before I left. I'm not hungry, right? I wasn't. I truly wasn't. Like it wasn't like one of those situations where I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna eat here, right? It was like I'm truly just not hungry. And they ordered some like chips and queso, and my husband's like, you can have a chip. I'm like, I'm not hungry, right? And he's like, it's just one chip. And I'm like, I'm literally not hungry. Like, I'm not hungry. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And never have I ever, and I laugh about it now because I'm like, I can't believe I had a heated discussion about some freaking chips and queso. I'm like, babe, stop asking me to eat a damn chip. Excuse my French. I'm not gonna eat the chip. I'm not hungry. Like, guys, when I tell you I talked for 10 minutes about chips and queso, I had to have a sit down, just like I think was it Jen that said it earlier, had to sit down with my husband when I got home, and he's been super supportive along the way. And I said, babe, it just takes one time. Like, I'm not saying I can't control myself or anything like that, but when I tell you I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry. Like, don't ask me again, right? Um, and after that, boy, I'll tell you, we're probably never going to talk about chips and queso again. Anyway, so
Oh, I love that story. That was great. And guys, like what Megan said, like I think like catch the point of what she said. She said, I'm not hungry. She said it's not like I was like, oh, I can't have that. She literally had eaten before. She wasn't hungry. And how many of you can relate to that story? Like, I think I did a reel on this. Have the wine. I don't want the wine. Have the wine. You're no fun. I don't want the fucking wine. Like literally, guys, like if you're in these situations, like it's okay if it's something like you're like, oh my God, I really, really want this. That's a different story versus I really don't want it. I'm not hungry and I'm just going to do this because somebody's peer pressuring. That's peer pressure, Megan. Your husband was peer pressuring you.
I know. I'm
Ow.
like, you eat the chip because my husband's bulking right now. He's trying to gain muscle, so he's consuming everything in sight, and the man looks great. And I'm like, my body doesn't work like your body does. Like, I eat chips and queso, and it comes everywhere else. You eat chips and queso, you grow muscles. I don't know how, but anyway, it's crazy.
Well, men like to dirty bulk. It's okay. And to that point, again, you could eat chips and queso too. My point is, but you choose, you didn't want it at that point in time. And that's the biggest point, and yeah, I totally, totally agree. Plus queso is, and it all like depends, like guys, on what you want to do and what your goals are. I love it. Great conversation. Now I'm completely off track of what I was going to talk about today.
You're
Right?
welcome. I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, you're welcome. No,
I
that's
have
okay.
no idea either, but tell them that we're going to be meal prepping
Oh
this
yeah, so
Saturday.
guys, I forgot about this. So most of you, if you're not, so like guys, if you came over from AF Aesthetic Freedom, make sure that you have joined the Becoming Her free Facebook group. And those of you guys from Becoming Her, many of you guys have brought up conversations about meal prep in your check-ins, like not knowing how. So Coach Jen, and myself will be doing a live this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And whatever health time that is everywhere else, but it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will be doing a full live of meal prep. And what's cool about it is we've done this before in our other free community, and it was a big hit, guys. So basically what we'll be doing is Jen will be meal prepping live in front of you guys, as will I. Well, I do a single girl version. She does a full meal prep for her and her family and how she meal preps, keeping it super simple. So, because many of you guys will tell me in your check-ins, like, I can't meal prep. I have to make too many meals. I don't want to make food for myself and my family and blah, blah, blah. Well, Jen has her husband, and two boys, and she gets it done in under an hour, and they're all happy. So tune in, because as she's meal prepping, she'll be just walking through what she does, how she gets it done. And PS, she gets it done in under an hour. She literally will be live with you while she's doing it, sharing with you all the tools, how she seasons the food, the different things, and keeps everybody happy and herself on track. And here's the deal, guys. She won't talk about it a lot on there, but inside information, she's currently prepping for a show. So if she can meal prep and keep herself, like you're going to see her prepare food that she can eat currently prepping. She's less, I think she's like 6 weeks out, probably 4 to 6 weeks out. So her nutrition is pretty tight and her family and keep it tight. So if you guys have the time, like I can't recommend more for you guys to get on that damn live, because you can ask her questions, you can ask me questions on there, but you'll literally, for those of you that have showed up in my inbox saying, holy shit, I don't know how to do this. This is too hard to do this. Like, this is how you set yourself up for success, guys. Like, if you have the shit in your refrigerator, if you bulk prep the food, you are less likely to go, fuck, I don't have anything to eat in the house. And so I'm just going to run to Chipotle. And while Chipotle isn't horrible, like if you're doing it every week, you want to learn to create these habits. So you're never left, like what my dad used to say, with your pants around your ankles. You're like always prepared. Every once in a while, one of his little things comes back to me. So make sure you guys watch for that. I think it'll get posted today, but she and I will be doing that this Saturday in the Facebook group, Becoming Her. Woo woo. All right, you guys are a silent bunch. So you really did talk a lot about what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to really talk about the words I don'ts and I can'ts. And the reason why I wanted to do that is I was kind of pivoting off of, like we talked last week about change. And even for me, like I caught myself, you know, this morning I was thinking about like my flow is really off. And when I talk about my flow, I talk about my alignment. So I've had a lot of shifts and changes, and things that I was doing in the past, I'm a little off kilter. Food alarm. If you don't have them, look, Coach even has them. Remind me to eat. But I was thinking this morning, I was like, I was slightly frustrated, slightly not frustrated, but I was like, I got to get myself back into my flow. And I literally sat down this morning and I redid my schedule. So some of you have had one-on-ones with me. Some of you have heard me say this before. We have our rocks, right? And I always tell you to put your rocks in first. The sand will always come in. Well, I have my rocks in, but I had to shift them around in the vase because I was looking at some things and I was like, and I'll use it for example, like I have more check-ins to do and I'm doing check-ins on a daily basis. And I'm like, I really need to get these done early in the morning because many of you have a lot of questions and needs right now. So throughout the day, I have calls with you guys. You're messaging me. I'm trying to respond to you. And what does it do? It derails me from focusing on what I need to focus on, which is getting check-ins done. So I was like, how do I do this? How do I keep my space for myself, get these done and have the availability? And so I realized like, okay. And I started to say, I don't have time. I caught myself saying, I don't have time. And I literally fall into bed at night. And that's not usually me. I literally, like I was saying, I think I said to Jen this morning, I'm like, literally, like grandma, at 8 o'clock goes to bed and I literally just go timber right into bed. But I'm like, all right, I have to get, so change happens. So I have to shift my rocks. And I literally was like, no, I need to change this language. It's not that I don't have time. It's not that I can't do this. It's that this is new and it feels a little bit uncomfortable and it's going to take me a minute, like many of you guys that are new to some of the things that we're in, whether you're new to the program, whether you're starting something new with me, whether we're like looking at things differently, stretching, outside of your comfort zone, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And our natural resistance to something is to say the body wants to resist, because the mind really like literally would like to like necessarily do the easier thing. The body is completely capable of everything, anything. And sometimes the mind is what will step in our way and say, ah, you can't do that. You can't lift that heavy weight. That's too heavy. You can't do that. That's impossible. The mind likes to do these things. So shifting it to a place of realizing that it just feels uncomfortable. And now how can I approach this differently? Like, where is the possibility here? So coming from more of a curiosity place. So I did that. I sat down with my schedule and I went, well, this is going to look differently. And I had an epiphany too, Barb. I was like, oh, well, you know what? I need to go back to the way that I used to do things in my corporate world. When I need to go back to getting up in the morning, taking a smaller amount of time with myself, getting up and tackling work while you guys are sleeping. Then I can knock out check-ins like nobody's business because nobody's coming in, go to the gym later in the day, and then have free time where I'm more free to be able to have conversations. And like literally, I just had to shift my rocks. And at first I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to shift this rock. And I didn't do anything. I just took my gym and I shifted it down a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to play with this for this week and see how this works. And if this makes things happen a little bit more smooth, because I can totally do it. I just need to be better at my time management. So I say this because a lot of times, and I'm talking about like me being uncomfortable with something that's new, I know that I'll fall back into alignment again. And once I fall into alignment, this will just be like super, I use the word easy because, and fun, because I have a flow to myself. So I challenge you guys, like when things start to feel uncomfortable, because I've heard a little bit of this in the check-ins this week, like, wow, I have like, I'm a little nervous about this. This feels different. Like, just look at it from a different perspective, like, and versus I don't and I can't, when those come up, because they do for all of us, and realize that that is slight resistance. And like even Stephanie having a different way of looking at it, finding that thing, and how do I reframe that? And maybe it's sometimes just shifting rocks around too, or looking at things differently. So that's like to get yourself back into that flow of where you want to be. So the flow doesn't always like, and I'm talking about like structure of a day, but this could be applicable to anything, like anything at all outside, like when, being in flow, being in alignment, sometimes it's okay to move things around to get back to where you need to be, where everything feels good. It's normal for you to feel out of alignment, out of flow, whatever you want to call that, when something new gets entered in, because it's fear-based. It's like, well, what if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if, like, all of these things linger together, and they're why we do all the things we do. I could even pull the fear-based all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, where Steph said, well, why do I do this? Why do I come into these places and be the person that just wants to give and say, okay, I'm just going to do this because I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, or I want these people to feel comfortable around me? Can we agree that there's fear based around there? Fear.
Yes.
Yeah, of what is going to happen if I'm not the caretaker, the giver, if I don't make them feel good. Everything comes back to that. So like, just remember that, guys. She's clapping.
And that goes along with too, like what you were talking about with like being open, like we talk about that in the awareness call or the onboarding is just, being open to doing things differently, And for me, like my biggest one was when I had to make that shift from working out in the morning. I've always been a morning person. I always want to get up and work out. And I had to shift my training, my workout to the evening, which was very uncomfortable. And I was almost childish, like resistant with it, right? I was like kicking and screaming, throwing a little temper tantrum. Like I didn't want to do it because, that's not me. That's not my routine. Like those were the words that I told myself. So it goes along with what you were saying. Like we have to shift and change that language. We just have to be open to, changing things up, especially if we want to hit our goals, right? So I was like, I had these big goals. I wasn't going to hit these goals if I was going to continue doing the same things that I've always done. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So again, like just being open and, it doesn't mean that you can't shift and change things, right? Like you can try something for a little while, and if it doesn't work, like we're here to guide you into a different direction.
Mhm.
But you got to be open and you got to be willing to make those shifts and make those changes.
And what I love about what, Coach Jen just said is it also reminds me, guys, it's never going to get easier. So if you are new to me, one of my favorite sayings is with every new level comes a new devil. And what I mean by that, guys, is every time you hit a goal, a level, there will always be a new devil lurking there. It is just the way, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about your fitness, your career, whatever. If you think about it, every time you've leveled up, there is a new challenge at that different level. And Jen reminded me of it because some of you might be going, wait, what the fuck? Why did she have to change her workouts to evening? Well, she created a new goal for herself, and she's doing her second competition. And so for her to be show up as the best version of herself and create the best physique that she could, because listen, if you're going to choose to do something, here's my other thing. Like you want to know what I told her? I said, well, if you want to be a competitor, my exact words to her was, you better start thinking like one. And I'm telling you, as a competitor, a pro, somebody that wins a class does not kick and scream and whine about changing their workouts. And so that was her new devil at that level. So what I'm saying, she hit pretty much all of her goals, felt very good about herself, but she made a decision. And that doesn't mean everything, but she was like, well, I'm at this this is what I want to do now. I want to give this a shot. And so you can get uncomfortable at any level that you are at, is basically what it is, including myself. Every time I hit a new level, there's always going to be that level of uncertainty, and that's where you have to shift that thought process a little bit. And that childish behavior, it does happen. It's fun.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I mean, literally, guys, if you don't put your hand to the screen when I say how many of you can identify with that, you're lying to me. You're lying to me. You've been that kid having that temper. I don't want to stomping your feet. It's not fair. I don't want to do this. So it's real. Know that you're not alone, and it happens. But the key thing is when you identify it. And like I said, Jen talked about identifying it. I'm relaying the stuff because she literally identified with it yesterday. She came back. She's like, "Oh, holy shit!" Barb, you've identified with a few things, and you come and chatting back and forth with me. So I love it.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed with just like, okay, go to this part for the app. I'm still trying to figure out how to get on this call, where things are and whatnot. And I'm like, just calm down. This is all right.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I was supposed to do a low day and I flipped the paper and I was on a high day. And I'm like, well, okay. So and I finally just said, you know what? You're going to be all right. You're getting in the flow of it and you're doing it and your mindset is changing. I'm trusting Jules and with my body. And so that was the overwhelming piece to me, is just do this, do that, do this, that. But it was okay. I was fine. I was satiated. Yeah, my calories look like whatever, but I told my husband, I'm like, I'm really supposed to have a bedtime snack, but I just don't want to. I'm fine. I can go to bed. And I just went to bed. I was so tired. I just needed to start over, and let's start the low today.
Yeah. Sometimes we just start over. It's okay. It's okay when we're learning new things. And I love what you said. Like, it's so easy to allow ourselves to be overwhelmed. And I think, like, it's just breathe, like, things are new. And, you're trying and learning new things. And, for you, Barb, you've been here for a while, but we're leaning in and we're trying some things that, are a little bit different because you, like Jen, have some pretty big goals that you want to make some shifts with.
Mhm.
And, and so we have to look at it differently. And yeah, sometimes it's like you just said, overwhelming and uncomfortable, but I'm here to tell you, you'll get the swing of it and you'll be like the old goat on here pro, like you'll be like, yeah, this is nothing. I got this shit.
So when you look at those calories and you look at those macros, just
Yeah.
just know.
Yeah, I'm got you. I'm good. I got it, but you know what? The way that and guys, you have to understand this from my point of view as a coach. I get that. And so the way that I will approach things 99.9% of the time, if you're new to me, is one, I will ask questions. I will be your no BS girl. Like, I will come at you with the reality of things and what I see written on the paper and the basis of the questions. But I will also want to know what you learned from it and how you can move forward, because there's no wrong thing. There is but what we can do is we can learn. And I like that, because really my biggest question will be, what did you learn? And how can you apply it going forward? Because there's always going to be a lesson or a learn there. So great, this shit happened, right? It imploded on me one day. Well, what did you learn from it? Because when you learn from something, you're learning something about yourself and the situation. And once you learn something about yourself and the situation, you now have the ability to navigate it when it happens again. So now you can see, like, it's like you can see the taxi cab coming and you can get the fuck out of the way so it doesn't implode you, right? Like, literally, that's it. So, like, once you see the situation, you can dodge it, and now you have a plan. So, again, I keep going back to the beginning of the conversation. Steph led me into this. She's had an epiphany. Now she can walk into a situation fully aware. Like, she's empowered herself now. She's like, as a warrior, she can walk in and be like, I know exactly how I'm going to behave in this situation. And she can almost implement a plan before she even approaches it, like approaches the situation. Like, she can, in her mind, create a plan because she's now identified. And you all can do the same thing.
Oh, I can't reach to the back of that. I wonder if you can.
Janet's trying to reach something. You need to step still, girl. But anyway, has this been a helpful call, guys? Give me a hands up. Yeah. Awesome. Anybody have any outstanding staff? Helpful? You're not walking anymore. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I got 70 minutes in, so I'm good.
Good.
Thank
you
you.
for kicking me off in the right way.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. I turned off my video just because, like, watching somebody meander on a treadmill, I don't know.
Right.
I saved you guys from it.
You have anything to, like, wrap this up, being you started it all? You started me on this conversation.
No, I mean, I think that was yesterday when I was like, why am I not advocating for myself? And, and this is, of course, this is about getting myself healthy. I mean, that's my number one goal, is to just be healthy. Like, I'm not trying to win any bodybuilding competitions. And I think that you guys are incredible and amazing. I'm like, I just want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I don't want to be chasing, an unhealthy version of myself. I want to be chasing a healthy version of myself. And it starts here. And I do want to be surrounded by friends. I do love the people that surround me, but I want to make sure that those are healthy relationships. And that means that, everybody talks about boundaries, or, and setting those boundaries, of course, yes, but empowering yourself to just take that little step and just say, here, if I don't have a drink, or I'm not today, or how about we don't do pizza? Let's do, I'm okay with, I'd go to Velvet Taco over a pizza place any day. I can at least pick a good taco, because things like that, where you can, you can make different choices that are going to empower you and make you more healthy, but not damage the relationship that you value.
Yeah, I love it. Good share. Yeah. And, like Megan said, learning to, even your loved ones, and Jen talked about it, they need to respect your boundaries. Like, there's a difference between I'm not going to eat it and I'm not hungry. Like, I'm not hungry. And I've been in that situation myself before. Have the cookie, Jules. You like, have the biscuit. Because to be honest with you, this is the reality. When I was competing, I could throw most men across the room that I was, working with, was strong as fuck, but I looked smaller because I was very lean, and I would get this, you eat a cookie. Fuck you, you eat a cookie. Like, that was my attitude. Like, no, I don't want the cookie. Oh, just have the cookie. I don't really want the cookie. It's not tasteful to me. And that, like, those, I think, there's that stuff. And there's also, like, you have to identify the people that are disrespecting your boundaries and have those hard conversations. Listen, it's not that I can't have it. I can eat anything. Look at me. I feel like I can eat the cookie. I'm cool. If I eat the cookie, nothing's going to happen to me. I don't want the cookie. You eat the cookie. And no, I'm not too lean. And no, like, because those things that was a big thing for me. Like, I remember that I was like, I am not skinny. I can probably heft you across the room. But like, learning to value those relationships and then have those hard conversations. So I love it. Great call, guys. Nobody else has anything else. I am going to say peace, and I will see you guys in the app. Have an amazing freaking day.
Thank
Great
you,
call.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.